It is time. At long last, the finals have arrived for week 2 of the Swiss, and to nobody's surprise, Surrender is joining us yet again. He, unfortunately, for his sake at least, ended up losing to Rivius in the finals last week, but now he has his chance at redemption. But if he is going to take it, he's going to have to take down Glory, who, based on what we've seen today, is not going to give him an easy ride, I think it's fair to say.
Definitely not. And as far as the lineups are concerned, they've got 3 classes in common in the Warrior, Demon Hunter, and Rogue. The difference lies in that 4th class for Surrender going with Highlander Hunter, and Glory with his now infamous, I would say, Druid, which took the clean sweep a while ago.
Which I think could be pretty well positioned, actually, in this series. The only real weakness it feels like it's up against is the Warrior, which, of course, has all those many board sweeps that come from the Risky Skipper and just the mid-game nonsense that it can quite consistently pull off. But I would have to imagine against the Hunter and the Rogue that we saw a little bit earlier on, I think Surrender could be in a tough spot against the Druid.
Especially since the Hunter lists are not always including... Surrender's list is including the Varanus Unleash the Hounds combo, which I think is probably one of the most important comeback mechanisms they have against Druid, because I feel like Hunter is definitely one of those classes that can't reliably just deal with Druid boards one after the other. They do at some point have to race, and they are the aggressor in the beginning. So if it gets to that point where Druid goes wide, maybe they're at a low enough health total that the Hunter can just finish them off with an Unleash the Hounds.
Maybe. That'll definitely have to be the game plan. It all relies, of course, on which deck they queue up first, because this is, of course, last hero standing this week. It's not like Conquest, where random queue order is the only way to go about it, unless you think you've beaten the system, which you haven't. But it makes a big difference here. You can either go for... we've seen a few different strategies. You know, the throwaway deck first, quote unquote, your kind of weakest deck just to scout what your opponent's going for, and then counter thereafter. Or we've also seen players go for the strongest deck first, just trying to sweep their opponent, as we've seen twice so far today from Surrender and Glory, both with 3-0 victories.
Right. And for top strongest decks, at least in terms of the matchups, I would definitely put that on being the Druid for Glory and the Warrior for Surrender. But Surrender is going to start with that Warrior, while Glory is throwing out the Rogue first.
Could be a pretty cool matchup. Not one that I've seen all too much of, to be honest. Although I feel like if I was to foray out onto ladder, playing either one of these 2 decks, I'd probably run into it a fair bit now, as Rogue definitely feels like it's making a big comeback this week compared to last week. But for Surrender, I would say he's already got a very, very nice starting hand to start dominating the board.
He's got the Skipper Battle Rage, a huge, hugely important combo that the Warrior and basically every Warrior archetype in the meta right now relies on. And look at this, with the Bloodsworn off the top, Inner Rage already available, and he can even just play the Inner Rage right now. Backstab and Seal Fate.
Absolutely disgusting. The only consideration there, I suppose, for Surrender is whether or not you instantly throw down the Inner Rage, because it does, like you highlighted, deny Seal Fate and Backstab. But I guess it would be fairly weak to a Sap on the other side, which would, effectively waste the Inner Rage.
But if they're sapping that, aren't you kind of happy? Just play it down on the next turn. I guess it doesn't immediately get damaged, but... I
guess the thing is, if they're going for Backstab or Seal Fate on this minion, you're still going Inner Rage into Bloodsworn, and you have... 2, 3 6s in play? True. That's absurd.
But what about 2, 3 9s there? I guess I'm too greedy, but in any case, Glory can actually get this down to 5 health if he also wants to commit the SI7 and the dagger. But he's not going to damage it at all, and he's going to get the bad news that Surrender has the absolute giga nuts.
Warmaul Challenger is a card that former world champion, and in my opinion, probably the best player in the world, Hunter Ace, has said will likely get nerfed. It was on nobody's radar when the expansion rolled around, but just look at what this card is capable of. Disgusting.
Even without the battle cry, this card can do different things too.
Different things? That sounds great.
The Surrender's even got Corsair Cash for what is usually already a great game plan for the Warrior. Got Anchor or Livewire Lance online.
Yeah, I wonder if it's this turn you go for 4 mana Tolvir plus Battle Rage to draw 3, and then if you haven't found anything better on turn 5, he could go for Corsair Cash plus the weapon he gets off of that.
My counter proposal is that if he goes Tolvir Corsair Cash next turn, he does get the weapon and probably will be able to damage his face for still 3 draws, because I don't think these Warmaul challengers are going anywhere.
Yeah, the one thing you need to consider is Flick. Obviously, once that comes down on turn 6, that's the only real way that Rogue has to efficiently clear both of these off.
Yep. This is absolutely disgusting. Nothing is backstabbable except his own minion.
So one of the benefits of Pain Warrior, as it has been dubbed, I believe, is that, you know, as you would expect from the name, all of the minions are damaged at all times, it feels like. It's kind of the point of the deck.
I mean, we were talking about interraging this immediately, and it's tough to say whether or not what Glory went for was correct to leave it completely undamaged, because if you're dealing the damage, sometimes it's good for the Warrior, but if you leave it at full health and they have the interrage, it's also good for the Warrior. So, man, you could at least give the Spy Mistress extra health if you wanted to take a value trade. Instead, he's just going to taunt up the Devoted Lackey, and Surrender can go for the play we were talking about last turn.
So, yeah, it doesn't line up perfectly, of course, because of the 4 health, which is a little bit annoying. I don't know. Does that ever force Surrender into going for Corkron Elite? I don't think I like that.
No, that seems beyond a first world problem. He still gets to spend all his mana and the turn with what, a 3/5 and a 3/7, and draw 3 cards and get a Lackey.
The alternative is Skipper plus Bomb Wrangler, which allows him to clear off the Lackey and take a clean trade and get a bomb on the board.
Okay, I guess this is the best to play around Flick, exactly, which
you
were talking about is probably
I like this a lot.
Only way back into the game, so I can see it.
Man, Glory is so close to making such powerful things happen, but it's all just a turn away. I don't think he can ever afford to play Kronks on this turn.
So does he then just play Tog?
I don't think he can afford to play Tog on this turn.
Everything is gross, right? Is it just, what, backstab the boom bot, eviscerate something? There's nothing he can rush. There's nothing he can combo with Tog on. And...
Yikes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I agree with this. It's absolutely horrible, but maybe if you can just survive that one more turn, Togwaggle or Galakron can pull you to victory. It's probably Galakron next turn to set up the cross.
Very smart as well to take the hit onto the risky Skipper, making sure that if Surrender wants to play a minion, he has to have exactly Battle Rage to buff the health on this.
Alright, let's start by drawing. Love it. And then we're going to go Livewire probably and just start smacking him over the head.
You always start using the Wheeze when you're so far when there's one player super far ahead.
I'm not going to side with a loser, Gia. Come on.
Glory's not a loser in my eyes.
Well, he's losing
just
this
the
one.
First game.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to see a miracle here if he wants to dig himself out of this one. Maybe Galakron's into Flick. That's something, I suppose.
Okay.
Maybe. You're the one who just called him not a loser.
Yeah. I mean, I was already thinking about the next game. But, alright. Flick, maybe, from his perspective, lets him live. But we can even see there's, what, 5 showing on board with the Corkron Elite. And then... Oh, man. That's just not it.
6, 7, 8, 12, 13. Yeah, that's lethal. Oh, no, sorry. 1 bit of mana off, so not quite
he can
lethal
blow
yet.
up the boom bot, though. And he is Rampage.
Oh, right, yeah, it would blow up the Blue Bido. Yeah, many different ways to hit the lethal now. And we're starting to see why. The Warrior is so consistently banned with the first game in this series going over to Surrender. And it's got to be said, it is not going to be the easiest counter in the world for Glory. With his own Warrior banned, I believe he's left now just with Demon Hunter and Druid. I'm liking Surrender's position here already.
Definitely. And we've seen, to be fair, at least 2 Warriors this weekend just get overrun by matchups where we thought they would be favored, because sometimes they don't actually hit the armor combos. So there's a world where Demon Hunter can outpace them, but it's probably not the most likely outcome. The question is, for Glory, is it more likely than the Druid somehow getting there?
Yes, the Druid does look like it's going to be struggling this time around. It's worth saying, though, that even though Warrior has these powerful board clears, with Exotic Mount Seller in particular, given that you're looking on average around 3-4 health, I feel like, on most of the beasts, aside from the real duds like Owl and Desert Hare, I think that if Glory can get a hand like he had in the previous series with Overgrowth into Mount Seller, then we're looking at a very real chance for the Druid to take a win. Having said that, I still think he'll line up the Demon Hunter here first. Although I think, just as I said that, we actually got confirmation that it is going to be the Druid, which is quite impressively bad.
Because I heard you say it exactly at the same time our lovely producer gave us the information. So I got a little bit confused there, but it will just be the Druid. And you know what? I don't blame Glory, because he seems to be very comfortable on the deck, has a lot of faith in it to bring it in the first place when it's already seen such a drop in popularity this week. And maybe he's found a way to approach the matchup that doesn't leave it quite so vulnerable. I would say that this might be one of the matchups where you kind of forego the Glow 5 plan. And as you said, try instead to build up a Mount Seller board that isn't so wide that they can get the free Blood Boil Brutes, but it's still high enough health that they can survive risky skippers.
Yeah, I think given the Surrender's build, the Druid is less likely to be blown out in the early mid game with eggs, because that is the main thing that Surrender has cut from his list in favor of a bit more consistency with the 2 Corkrons, the 2 Warmauls, the 2 Bomb Wranglers, all that good stuff in the mid game. And so if that doesn't come down, like you say, there is a real chance for Glory to even take it into the late game, potentially. Maybe he can ramp into a Ysera a little bit later on and try and get value off of that. But if Surrender gets a game anything like he did last game with the copied Warmaul challengers, I think that's just going to be lights out.
Right. And because there are so many different panouts for the Warrior, and you did say that maybe the Druid game plan has to lend itself more towards the late game, I was going to ask whether you think Surrender should keep the Battle Rage in this instance. We see that he tosses it, but gets one back as well as a Warmaul challenger.
I see your point that you definitely want to make sure you're not left without any card draw. But having said that, you know, because the Druid goes into the late game and is more powerful there, I think you want to try and dominate them in the early game as much as possible by finding Warmaul, Tolvir into buff, Bomb Wrangler to an extent as well. Just anything you can to dominate those early turns, as it looks like Surrender will be able to do. Oh my goodness.
You said 3 things. Warmaul, Tolvir into buff, Bomb Wrangler. Those are all available for Surrender.
That sounds great to me.
And if we're looking at options, you could go for the Rampage this turn and then go face, but then that gets punished by Wrath and Bog.
Yeah.
So I'm looking all here.
Warmaul trade, it gives you a 1-4 and a 2-3, and then I guess on the following turn, say they Bog Beam your 2-3 or Wrath it, which I think is very much what you can expect.
You can Rampage the remaining one?
Yeah, I guess. Okay, I guess that's pretty good, yep.
And something is likely to stick to copy with. It's just kind of awkward with how the mana works out, especially since Surrender is not taking any face damage yet.
Yeah.
But I still like the line.
Like using the Wrath over the Bog Beam, even though it has the versatility of draw. I think with a Fungal Fortune in hand, you'd rather just get the 0 mana Bog Beam later on.
Especially with the double Rising Winds as well. But now with a Corkron off the top, that opens a world of Surrender to actually diverge, because he can spend the full mana this turn and then just use Rampage Bloodsworn the next turn.
I really like this, especially as it's heading into turn 4. You know that if your opponent has Overgrowth, they want to play it, and then they can't play... Ooh, they can't kill off the Corkron, but if they don't have it, you're happy anyway. But now another alternative line is presented to Glory, where he could just say, okay, forget all this ramping nonsense, I'm just going to get down a Glowfly as quick as I possibly can.
And you know what? I didn't hate the look of that, because if it comes down this early, you're asking them to have exactly Risky Skipper and 2 playable minions.
They full mulled.
Yeah, I don't know how common that, but in any case, where he's facing down a very similar board to what he did last time. Overflow, though.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much cast division is getting to me here, but I think I agree that I would have preferred to have seen on a full mull, it would have to be a pretty specific board to actually clear off all the Glowflies.
We can live in that world another time, I suppose, because Glory now was hovering over the Glowfly first, but if you're doing that, I also agree that you should start with draw. Get rid of the Corkron. Then Surrender can use his lands to get 3 draws off Battle Rage. Or alternatively...
You can also just look for lethal if he hits the Kobold Lucky on this turn. Oh no, wait, with the Taunt in the way. No, not quite.
Sorry, he doesn't have to use lands into the 3/5. But since in order to free up a value trade for the Bloodsworn, he'd have to take 2 trades with the 4/7. Seems a bit awkward. It seems very tempting to go for Battle Rage this turn, but at the same time, he could just create another 4/7 with a 3/3. That seems so good.
Blade Storm is 1 mana off being discoverable from the Lackey, so yeah, I think you can just rule out Ethereal Lackey on this turn. There's not many good outcomes.
I mean, I think we have a bit of a disconnect on who we think is the aggressor here. I feel like Surrender has every just developing and not clearing here, because he can still trade off 2 of these and maintain the board presence.
Right, but Blade Storm would clear off 2/2s but still keep his board intact, right? Which would be the perfect way to go.
Sure.
But Surrender seems to think he's not necessarily the aggressor as much as we may have thought.
He still trades, yes, but I mean, I don't think he was in a spot where he had to use a Lackey over-developing, is what I mean.
Sorry, I understand. Oh, the Mount Seller here is doing so much work.
It really is. So Glory can trade 1 off and then roar, because the way points work, the difference between 5 and 4 health is everything anyway.
Sure. You would be able to hero power to take it out, but I guess he can do that on something else anyway, so yes.
I don't think he wants to use his face anymore. Okay, if he's able to clear everything, then yes, but I don't think he's able to clear everything. Unless he gets a Griffin, but
yikes.
That ain't it.
Time waits for no one.
No, I think I do like using the hero power. He takes the same amount of damage either way, but he just clears off more things this way, right?
Surrender's clearly counting for something, so he's looking for Mortal Strike and Inner
That's
Range.
Game!
What? Mortal Strike and Strike would have just done it, and he's got it! Surrender thought of the out immediately. Oh my gosh.
Today is just absolutely fly by Surrender in incredibly convincing fashion. Goes up 2-0. It got a little bit scary there in that game. Glory was starting to do some incredibly powerful things, but in the end, the Warriors' aggression in the early game was his undoing. And I think that Surrender really played to that fantastically. Even so, as far back in the mulligan, I think you raised a great point about Battle Rage. It's something you should really consider keeping in a matchup like that. But instead, he just goes for those early aggressive curves time after time. And given that he was given 2 copy a Warmwall Challenger games in a row, he seized that and took another win.
Right. And I think the hardest decision point for him was the second to the last turn, where he had the option of either copying a 3rd Warmwall or using Battle Rage to maybe find answers for the board. He just recognized that he was in a position where he could just go for lethal over 2 turns. It was a bit risky, I will say. I'm still not 100% on the line because we could see there that if the lackey didn't give him that exact damage, then he was suddenly falling behind. Glory could have stabilized with overflow and such. But in the end there, Surrender is now just up 2-0 with a warrior left, just needs to get through a Demon Hunter.
Well, I would say if the last couple of weeks have taught us anything, that if there's one class in the game that can pull off a 3-0 sweep right now, it's got to be the Demon Hunter. Glory's list is a little bit different to what we're seeing from most of the players. We're seeing a lot of Priestess of Fury coming down in the late game in addition to Fell Screamer, but Glory has cut that. He's also cut a little bit of the common early game cards in favor of Double Ooze and Double Questing Adventurer.
Yeah, that is very usual, but when you're running in a format like LHS, I guess it is very much keeping a certain class in mind that he wants to target. And I would assume it's the Mirror if he didn't just queue this up against Warrior, the only other class that really runs weapons right now. I'm not exactly sure how relevant the Ooze will be here, but I could assume that the questing might not be the best card.
Full mulligan there from Glory. I was going to say that like I-Beam plus Spectral Sight is not bad. It's a bit of early removal. But the thing is, Warrior doesn't really develop that much, especially Surrender's build in these early turns. So just looking for Blazing Battle Mage, Battle Fiend, Umberwing, all these early plays that I think Glory is going to need to get the aggro going.
Right. The strength of Warrior is that it doesn't develop often, but when it does, it develops 10 health minions, which you just can't I-Beam away anyway. So I really can get behind that from Glory. He really needs the Battle Fiends and the Blazing Battle Mages, and it is a lot of suspense. What cards did he get back, Derek?
It's killing me, Gia.
Surrender. It's tough again here because you want to keep Corsair Cash ideally to get Ankar, but if you already have the Ankar, you just keep it. Surrender's going for both.
I like this a lot.
Yeah. We might see that weird world where you Corsair Cash, but you play the unbuffed weapon because it's an Ankar and you want to get the draw as soon as possible. But more importantly, I think it's going to have to depend on what Glory's turns are.
I think that, as is just so often the case with Warrior, you just want to give yourself the highest chance of finding a good risky skipper turn around like turn 4 or 3, 4, 5, something like that, to sweep up the Demon Hunter's board, preferably with an Armor Smith if you can. And I think Surrender, he knew that exactly, and he's been moving towards that right from the mulligan.
Glory already with a tough decision point with the top deck of Spectral Sight, because he can still attack this turn and buff the Battle Fiend by using a Twin Slice and get the Outcast from the Spectral Sight. But it means he's forgoing the Umberwing development.
Yeah, I think this is pretty smart, actually. Spectral Sight can still be used next turn just for one draw if you need. He already has Skull on the left for a huge amount of card draw later on. And I just like getting the attacks down and getting the Warrior damaged as much as possible. Because even though Warrior does have the potential for huge amounts of armor gain with Armor Smith, we've seen quite a lot of games where they just don't draw the Armor Smith, and that feels like Demon Hunter's best chance of winning the game is just by pushing everything face and hoping they don't have the heal.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think good recognition from Glory prioritize the immediate board development over card draw. Now Surrender's presented with the option of either getting the Warmail down immediately, still deals with the Battle Fiend, or putting down the Ankar. I think Ankar makes a lot of sense. So Warmail still has 2 perfectly good targets left on board.
Despite looking a little bit light in this hand for Glory, I think he's in still a good spot. He's got potentially Coin Glaive Bound with obviously a Twin Slice first next turn to just get all the damage face as quick as possible. Or if you find something better, you could go for Coin Skull on 5.
True. And Surrender already down to 19. This turn smells like Warmail and Sky Raider. It's good to see what he gets off the top there. It will be the other skipper. Wow, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. No, you
Warm-up
never
isn't
play
a-
skipper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the parachute does not activate risky skipper because you have to play the minion. It can't just be summoned from your hand. But I feel like even then, you'd probably rather just play the Warmal.
Correct. I think Surrender's main priority here is thinking about how he can set up the best battle rage, because clearly
Yeah.
he's going to outvalue Glory with a hand like this. Now he's just looking for the best way to find Armor Smith to actually get use out of these skippers.
Well, I think he's actually really thinking about going skipper hero power and just setting up for a stronger sort of battle rage play next turn with a skipper already on the board. He could then just go bomb wrangler battle rage, which would be pretty good.
Look at this questing
Close.
there.
Oi, oi, oi.
That it's ripped off the top. It's good enough to make Glory just completely forgo the glaive bound, and I agree.
Oh my god, how much is he going all in here? All in?
Yeah, looks like.
Oh.
You know what? I love it.
Glory is saying, you know what? I've had enough of this game. I'm just leaving it up to the Hearthstone gods.
Okay.
Can you clear?
I was gonna say I love it with keeping just one slice in hand, just because he's still got the glaive bound. But
Okay.
with the cane draw, maybe this is perfectly fine. So can he clear? That is the question.
So risky skipper, battle rage is not a terrible way to start. If he, it's a lot of mana to spend.
Also, the Sky Raider would just die, right?
Does he?
If you play both skipper.
No, it wouldn't. It would only be 1 damage AOE, right?
Ah, correct. Yeah.
But he could just go live wire lance, swing, and hope to hit ethereal. I don't even know what you could hit off ethereal.
I'm looking at Battle Rage and trade off the Sky Raider,
Yeah.
which has got to happen before any other minion does. I don't see a way to clear off the questing completely.
I think he's relying on the 1 in 8 4 damage bomb.
It's not it. And the inner rage is just a little short of being able to trade off the questing, so with the cane, it's
1
12
off?
and
Oh,
13
12,
with the
2
hero
off.
power. Yeah.
He's got to just go for it, right? Like, being able to be
It's-
1 damage off lethal?
I think. Oh man, do you ever kill the? You have to kill both risky. He can with Kane and hero power, and then that kind of shuts off Armor Smith from being
Okay, okay.
too good. But then it's still a lot of damage he's thinking it. I don't know. Or he's just saying, "You don't have it. We're going in."
I guess it's as good a guess as any, but now
The battle
Battle
is
Rage to
insane.
draw Armor Smith? He's got 5 draws!
It's very likely. And another Battle Rage. He only needs 1. Does he just rip it again? But then there's not enough hand space. It's alright though.
And there's not enough, like, mana, right?
He has enough mana to play 1 Armor Smith.
Just to play Armor Smith, okay. And then that would get the proc. Okay. I guess that'll have to do.
I don't see any other world.
Okay.
So surely it can't just be hero power, right? And say that I'm living on 3. It's still gotta be Armor Smith. So he's ripping
I
another
agree.
Battle Rage. We made this discussion already, I think, in Tyler's game, where even if you overdraw, it doesn't matter because you still need to take no matter how little space there is. The Armor Smith!
Whoa! He got it! On the last card!
You gotta take the trades this way, because if he doesn't, then the questing doesn't necessarily die.
Yep.
Back up to 9, not the highest or safest health total.
He's alive.
He's alive but with no left. So how good is this Armor Smith? Glory's reaching for the skull. I think he's got the right mindset. Because any minions he plays, Suddenly the armor smith can gain armor into that, right? Okay. So he's killing the armor smith.
Yeah.
I don't know about this. How bad was just Skull there? For Metamorphosis?
I guess there's no more skippers.
Look for the Warglaive as well? Yeah, right? Because
Yeah, maybe that was better. Yeah.
the only way
He could
gains
buff
armor
it
then
and
is-
copy it,
Yeah.
but even then, it's not gaining any armor immediately.
Yeah. I guess there's ways to gain a little armor, like the Tolvir or another Inner Rage, but
I guess
not a lot.
the thinking is that if you go for Skull Gul'dan, you're probably setting up for a big Altruis, and if he copies the armor smiths, then you can't really go for that because you'll give him armor with every swing.
I'm not thinking of Altruis though. I'm thinking of Metamorphosis or
Oh, okay.
Warglaives.
Okay,
And
fair
also
enough.
having the Glaive Bound in hand is huge because you can send it
Yeah.
out place. I don't know. Lori with a shake of his head. I mean, he's been taking these turns really fast when they're actually very complicated. Not saying he's straight up wrong, but would have liked to see just, I guess, more thought put into it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Surrender can clear this with Corcoran and set up a taunt if he wants. Taunt definitely looks important when there's still Warglaives in the list. But, hey, Hero Power also...
Well, I think actually Warglaives is a reason to not go for injured because for the Tolvir,
sure,
because then he
yeah.
still gets the 3 damage
Exactly.
face. Yeah.
Makes sense. Chaos for another cycle.
Could just hold on to all of them, right, and set up for a big Altruis next turn.
Yeah,
Assuming he doesn't get
since-
anything too expensive.
Right, and since
like
he's
it.
seen the armor smith here, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. He's just got to pray for no second armor smith, and he is rewarded. Ooh. Throwing down that Corcoran last turn, despite feeling crucial to clear off the Glaive-bound Adept, now means that Surrender is left with significantly less burst damage. I think he could have actually found lethal on this turn with Corcoran, but the landscape would look very different, obviously.
Would have been a little bit short. He doesn't have the 9 mana to fit in the Rampage for the combo.
Oh, right, of course. Sorry, yeah.
But definitely worth noting. So, how does he set up lethal for the next turn? I guess the Bomb Wrangler gives him insurance against Altruis, because, of course, as soon as a bomb blows up,
Yeah,
maybe Altruis
good
dies.
point. He could Inner Rage it, copy it, and then Hero Power, just for that little bit of extra assurance on life total as well, while still presenting a very big threat.
Looks good. Very well spotted from Surrender. And now Glory will be, I guess, at least a little bit put off the Altruis plan. And this is really close.
That's a cheap card. That's what you need for Altruis.
How many bombs can this
Oh
Altruis
my
dodge?
god.
Is this what it's gonna come to, Dara?
Do you play Umberwing first, even though you don't get the Outcast Altruis value, to get more 1/1s?
I grow impatient.
It's probably worth it.
I think so. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Oh my god.
And then you can I-beam one of the Bomb Wranglers,
Sure.
so that it gets less bombs. Yeah.
Whatever it's gonna be, if it's an Altruis turn, he's gotta go fast.
He's got to go now. He's got to go right now. He's running out of time.
I mean, Surrender's showing 13 on board with weapons in
He's just
hand.
going to run out. He
Rampages-
doesn't have time anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't. Oh, Glory, please.
Whoa!
Okay. Dodge the first one.
Altruis survives.
Dodged how many more? Okay,
Not
just,
that one.
Just one. Did he get the attack in? Okay, he got the attack in. Surrender doesn't
7
have
health
the
is
lethal.
not repping lethal, though.
With the Warglaive, it is not.
And he missed out on, like... maybe
Not
not, actually,
much.
because the Warglaives
Yeah.
came off the top. Yeah, yeah.
And
Maybe,
Altruist died immediately. I don't know.
Yeah. That was a very, very difficult turn.
So if you're
and maybe it wasn't even supposed to be Altruist at all. Who knows?
Does Surrender just go double taunts? I guess that doesn't even protect against Warglaze, does it? So
it does damage Glory a lot, though, and you're just trying to set up counter-lethal here, I think, as often as possible.
True.
So maybe it's double taunt plus
You
just
could
Captain
Rampage
Greenskin.
1. You could Rampage 1.
Sure.
Make them not
Yep.
Warglaves it. So you
That
could
sounds
just
smart.
go Injured Rampage Hero Power?
Yep. I'd like that.
I guess they could still like Warglaves it, but they go down to 3 in that case. So Glory is repping 4 damage to face. Is Metamorphosis the only out? Oh! But is there enough mana? There isn't. So he's got to set up instead. Does that mean it's like an ooze turn plus mana burn? Preload the Metamorphosis?
Sure. You probably don't want to play Umberwing because you don't want to give the 1/1 something to attack into. Oh no, but then if you play the Ooze, they can do that anyway.
Right.
But if you play the Ooze, maybe one of them attacks into the Ooze and then destroys the Ooze, so the other one can't destroy itself.
Ah! My brain hurts. Okay. It's gonna come down to a bomb result now.
Burn away
This-
to ash.
Not set up lethal. Okay. No. Okay.
That doesn't draw anything. The other Armor Smith is in the bottom 4.
Yeah. No way to draw it unless you want to go for big ol' whelp off of the Draconic Lackey.
Yeah, Glory didn't set up lethal, but to be fair, I don't think there was a way he could have set it up
Yeah.
while preventing lethal on himself.
Agreed.
So
Yeah, he could have set up double hit with the Warglaves, but he would have died.
So what outs remain for him? He's used both Twin Slice, he's used the Cane.
Glavebound Adept?
Right. Oh wait, it's a one of.
Oh, 1 mana off, yeah.
And 1 copy in the deck.
Right, oh yeah, of course, it's the only one in the deck.
And I feel like we've seen both Chaos Strike. Is the deck just a bunch
Yeah,
of
I
one
think we
drops
have.
now?
I think we have.
There's just not any damage
I mean-
left. And
And
okay.
he's
Well.
also just dead. Surrender was able to find lethal off of the live wire lards while we were
God.
hypothesizing what could be found for Glory to take the win. Meanwhile, Surrender, in truly Surrender fashion, takes his second 3-0 sweep of the day, and he's now our champion for Week 2, the finalist, runner-up in Week 1, and the winner
Amazing.
in Week 2. Absolutely incredible.
The blink of an eye, and that brings him up to a grand total of 11 points over 2 weeks. That is higher than what I think most of the players will get over 3 weeks.
I think definitely it's impossible for many other players to get that high even now, even if he finishes right down at the bottom next week. It has been a truly incredible display from Surrender. And I think, again, this week, he just knows how to play the decks. This warrior that he was piloting that was left up for the 3-0 sweep, he just knew exactly what he was looking for game after game.
Yeah, and I think definitely this game, you really could see that he was looking for specific cards and thinking of specific situations. Getting the
Yeah.
Armor Smith, even though it was very late in the deck, gave him that extra time to kind of set up a board while Glory was scrounging for that last bit of damage. And then when Surrender saw the skull, he was thinking, all right, the only way I lose now is Altruist. So he sets up the Bomb Wranglers and makes it very awkward for Glory. Very well played, and hats off to Glory as well, because my gosh, that was such a difficult set of turns. I was looking through his deck list and just completely missed that Surrender found the lethal.
Yeah, me too. But either way, I think we can both agree Glory played some much better Hearthstone today as opposed to just a couple of days ago in his matches to get here to the finals. I think he was looking much tighter in his gameplay. The only real thing that looked a bit messy was his Altruist turn, which I think was pretty close to the best it could have been anyway, even though he left it right down to the rope at the last second. But even with that aside, we can take a look at the bracket now to see one final time how things shook out this weekend. We had 8 fantastic players who got through the Swiss at the start of the weekend, but today we were left with only 4, and Surrender has become our Week 2 champion.
Very, very impressive. And if you include the rounds of Swiss that were played off stream, Surrender went 16-1 there. So with 2 series played, he went 6-1 in Swiss, and he had 2 series played today and 3 the other day.
2 the other day.
2 the other day. So he went 11-1 this week. That's absolutely nuts in Hearthstone. If you translate that to a Masters tour, that puts you like at the top of Swiss and through to the top 4 as well. It's just incredible. And it speaks to Surrender's skill. It speaks to his familiarity with LHS as an older format, whereas Surrender is probably one of the OG players in APAC. And man, I am just completely floored.
Yeah, it has also big implications for what we're going to be seeing next week. His lineup bringing the Highlander Hunter, maybe that will skyrocket the popularity amongst the other Asia-Pacific players. Also his dominance with Warrior, with 13 of the 16 players bringing Warrior this week. It was a very highly represented deck overall. But maybe it will be seen even more next week as more people will bring it. Maybe it will be seen less next week because more people will bring it. Oh, yeah.
Next week is 10 classes. Everyone has to bring everything.
I take that back. Everyone's going to be bringing Warrior, but I don't think we're going to be seeing much of it because I imagine it's going to be panned away very, very quickly indeed. Yes, but that is going to be a lot of fun indeed. I'm not sure exactly how Surrender is going to function in that week. Maybe this could be his final weakness, given that it won't be the top tier classes, likely that he has been practicing a whole lot of. But even having said that, I feel like he's so versatile, he could put his hand to any kind of Hearthstone play.
You know what? Even in that very fringe scenario where he flops, let's say, doesn't matter. He's got enough points to, I think, definitely make Division A for the round robin stage. So Surrender can take the week off if he wants to, but I don't expect him to be lazy just because he can. He seems like the type of player that just wants to stay on top of things, and even if it's just pride on the line, he'll keep going.
Absolutely. But that was a lot of fun with bringing Surrender to the victory. Again, huge commiserations, I suppose, but also very well done to our other top 4 players in Flurry, Kin, and Glory, getting through to the finals there as well. I think it was overall a very, very well played day of Hearthstone here. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Asia-Pacific region this year around. Definitely stepped things up. But while we are done here for APAC, we are, of course, not finished with Grandmasters for the day. We still have Europe with Raven and Subtle, and then Americas at the end of the day with TJ and Frodan. So unless, Gia, you have anything else to add, we are going to sign off for this week.
Last thing I want to add is I did my math wrong again. 10-1. I'm pretty sure that's the right one.
Right.
Because 6-1 at the beginning, 2 matches on day 1, 2 matches on day 3. Yes. Either way, no matter which way you slice it, Surrender is definitely undisputed APAC champion of the world, despite us toning down the graphic to just APAC Week 2 champion.
Yes, yeah, not a grand overlord of the universe anymore, but still a very, very good Hearthstone player indeed. So I will say now, thank you so much for joining us here in Asia Pacific Grandmasters for this week. We will see you again next week for Week 3, and you are not going to want to miss it. It is the 10-class format extravaganza. Who even knows what we can expect to see there? I certainly don't have any idea, as I'm sure you will be surprised to hear. But I will sign off now. Send you over to Raven and Subtle. Enjoy the rest of Grandmasters. Goodbye.